Have you ever been lost in the forest? Can you imagine how you would handle it if you were? It's getting dark outside. Weird creature sounds are happening. You're walking, you're lost your path, and you hear the crunch, crunch, crunch behind you. Sticks are breaking, but you look behind. No one's there. Trying to find your way back. Water has run out because you thought, I was just going to be in the woods for like a day. Well, bad things can happen. So today we're going to talk about the book Hunted by Darcy Coates, and I am late to the Darcy Coates game. I am just now discovering what an amazing author she is. I have been living underneath a rock all this time, apparently. Like, okay, I've only read 2 of her books now, but they were so highly addictive page turners. These are like those books that keep sitting up till 4 a.m. because you can't stop reading it until you're like, okay, my eyes can't even handle this anymore. I have to go to bed. Darcy Coates is amazing. I don't know why I'm so late to the game with finding out about this, but we're here now. It's a good place to be, and it really just makes me want to continue on like reading through all of her books. She has a lot of them, so it's kind of nice. You know, maybe read a couple a year because I do have a good chunk of books that I do want to read this year. And then I made the mistake of like looking through this list the other day that was, I can't remember if it was Lit Hub or Lit Reactor or something. It was like 218 books we're looking forward to this year. And then I started writing down the ones I want to read. And I'm like, oh no. And so I'm just adding to books that maybe I'll never get to. We have hope that we will. So anyways, back to Hunted by Darcy Coates. This book is intense, scary, and it makes you second guess yourself about going out into the woods alone. Darcy Coates is most known for doing a lot of haunted house stories, but this one was a Co's Missing in the Woods story, and it was absolutely fantastic. It's a story of this girl, Eileen, and, you know, she goes on this kind of solo road trip, and she ends at this old growth forest called Ashlow Forest. You know, she goes hiking off the beaten path and she gets lost, and then crap hits the fan and she disappears. Her family eventually hears about this, but her brother's best friend, this guy Todd, kind of seems like he had a huge weird obsessive crush on Eileen, and he like was all obsessive about her social media and was like, hey, she hasn't posted anything, and he starts worrying that like she hadn't posted anything that night, and so he's like trying to nonchalantly like nudge the brother like, hey, da 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 da, you heard from Eileen and this and that, and eventually they figure out she's missing. The brother, Chris, and his 3 friends all decide they're gonna go into the forest that Eileen went to and try to find her, because daylight's burning. The longer someone's lost out there, the less chances they have of survival. They feel like the cops are giving them the runaround, and it's just messed up. And then another thing happens where Eileen, she had this camera. It was a film camera, and it floated down the river from when she disappeared. Some guy found it, turned it into the police station. They developed the photos, and the last, like, I think it's like 16 or so, are taken in the dark. Those original photos, they don't really see anything in them, but when they photocopy them and they give them to the family, the brother sees it and the friends of his, and they look at them and they think they see like a weird, really tall creature that maybe she was trying to fend off with like the flash of this. So now there might be some weird creepy Bigfoot creature out there. I don't know if it's a Bigfoot, whatever. And the whole thing is the parents, they go out there and they talk to the cops, and like no one's finding her, figuring out anything, and it's moving really slow. And so the brother and the friends decide they're gonna go out there. He kind of like, him and his buddy Todd kind of got in a little bit of a tiff, and like he had told Todd to go home. So Todd actually went out there before all of them. So he decides to go out into the forest alone to search for Eileen, because that's always smart, right? Go by yourself. So Todd's already out there. And then the other 4 of them, it's Flint, Haley, Anna, and Chris. Chris is the brother of Eileen. And they decide they're going to all go out there. But they go buy a bunch of stuff and get stuff so that they're prepared. They have tents and sleeping bags and first aid kits and compasses and maps and all this stuff. They go out and they talk to the lady who's a cop, Officer Delago, and they tell her about these photos. And she kind of blows it off at first. Just like, no, da 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 da. And something with the printer, or when they scanned it, something happened because the original photos, you can't see it in this. And so that kind of like upsets all those kids and whatever. So they go to the forest. They looked at all of Eileen's photos, and those photos, they kind of figured out what path she would have taken. So they narrowed it down to like 3 of them, because they knew it had like a pool, not like a like an outdoor swimming area where there was like a little waterfall and stuff, and so there was only 3 trails that had pools, and so they narrow it down, and they were like, well, she's trying to challenge herself and push herself, so she probably took the advanced trail. And then they find the trail and they start going down it, and they start finding the landmarks that were in the photos that she had taken, because the ones that weren't all weird and at night in the dark, they were actually like of places that she had visited while she was going along. They start to follow her trail. They start finding like traces of possibly, maybe they are following her track, like a footprint, and then they had found pieces of paper, and she was kind of an artist and had taken her pencils and artist sketchbook with her, and so they start following that. But then weird stuff starts to happen. Maybe this creature that was in the pictures starts to try to get these people to be separated, and maybe they find some remains of something, and it quickly spirals into a scary tale of what happens when there's something after you in the forest, and what happened to Eileen. And apparently a lot of other people went missing, and do the cops ever catch on and like start helping and whatnot? You gotta read it to find out. I don't know if you have read Darcy Coates. If you have, let me know what your favorite Darcy Coates books are, because I would love to read more of them. I've so far only read Hunted and Gallows Hill. I know she has a ton more. It's horror, but it's not like super insane scary. It's scary, but it's still just such a good page-turning story, and you get so invested in it, and like I said, it kept me up till 4 in the dang morning. I loved it. This is the one that the librarian, my local librarian, recommended that was her favorite Darcy Coates, so I was happy to read it. I'm going to say this now in every video I make about Darcy Coates. If you're looking for a starting point, any of her books, probably good. I don't know that. I can't definitively say that, but I loved Haunted, and Gallows Hill, also one of her newer ones. Awesome. Yeah, if you are a fan of Darcy Coates, the next video coming up will be another Darcy Coates related video, so stick around, check it out. And if you had fun hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.